Welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. I am so thrilled to have you with us today. I am going to be introducing you to Mita Bedi, a customer experience specialist and thought leader. She is the CEO and co-founder of Resonate.cx. She's got more than 20 years of international experience in business consulting. She's been part of leading transformational programs that drive revenue and competitive advantage using customer strategy. She's a true global citizen. She's lived and worked in UK, Singapore, and Italy, and she's founded and grown 2 companies and has a major passion for growing and driving impact. So out of work life, she's also a mum of 2 young children. We all know what that juggle would look like and feel like. She loves creative pursuits and is an active member of her community. So welcome to the show, Mita.
Thank you so much, Annie. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It is a great joy to have you on my program, and I'd love you to tell those listening in today, well, what has been your journey? How did you build Resonate.cx, and why did you build Resonate.cx?
Fantastic question. It's quite a funny story. In fact, not very different to what many entrepreneurs say about connecting the dots looking back. Actually, I was a first-time mum. 6 months. My daughter, Sophia, before that, I had about 15 years in corporate, mostly in banks and large consulting firms globally, lived in 5 different countries, and was working in the financial services sector. And that's where most of my career was. I had also had a startup experience prior to this. I had worked in starting up my own fashion online e-commerce company in Asia, of all places. And I come from a business family where my mother ran a big fashion business. So I knew how to really get there and do that. So I had returned to work because my first startup was my first learning and unlearning about myself. And I had returned to work. I had had my first baby. I was coming back from maternity leave nervous, as most first-time mums are, carrying a lot of guilt, working through how am I going to juggle this? It's already at very sleepless nights and all of that. And I was returning to a big 4 bank here in Australia, Combank at the time. And I was, apprehensive about everything. And in fact, a recruiter at the time, and recruiters are very creative people, wrote a nice LinkedIn message to me and said, there's a very small startup here in North Sydney, and you have quite an eclectic mix of backgrounds, startup, large companies, global companies. Why don't you go and meet them? And I said, look, I'm not really looking for a job. I'm just going to go back to what I know. And I'm trying to get through the juggle of settling back into work. And he said, no, Mita, just go and chat to the team over there. And I walked in North Sydney. I was living walking distance. I said, why not? Being quite the inquisitive person I am, I'd never let go of an interesting opportunity. So actually, I walked into a very small office, 7 or 8 people playing ping pong. There was a foosball table. Something was going on, and I met a couple of the team at the time, and I said, this is interesting. And I walked back home, and I was a little bit confused. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? It's interesting. It's all of that. I had the entrepreneur in me coming from that background, always wanting to do something different. And I walked home and told my husband, Jacob, I met a really interesting company. Everything's a bit all over the place. Everything's broken. It's very small. It's not the big Combank that, or the IBM that I've previously worked at. But I'm not going to take the job. Sophia's too young. It's too much of a chaos. It's a perfect storm. Starting in a startup, and also trying to work out how I'm going to figure out being a working mum. And Jacob, my husband, he looked at me and he said, I haven't seen your eyes sparkle in a long time. So actually, I think you should give it a crack. And I said, well, it's a 30% pay cut from the bank, and it's probably 10 times more workload. So he said, yeah, but I haven't seen your eyes sparkle. So how about you just give this a go? You've got 14, 15 years in the banks previous to this. Worst case scenario, you head back there in a few months, and we'll try to figure out Sophia together. Like we'll do what, working parents do. So it was that little push from him at the time. He didn't do the reverse of what many stories are going, no, now is not, there wasn't any fear. He actually said, no, I think you should take it. Maybe he was really sick of my whinging and being bored at my job. And it's a big call because, our finances were going to be affected as well. Yeah. And I joined, and the rest is history. I joined, I took on just about every role in the company, from, selling, onboarding, creating new processes, creating new teams, being two-in-a-box CTO at the time. We were growing the technology team. And somewhere down the line, B2 happened, and baby number 2. And after that, the team was really waiting for me to come back. So 4 months in, I sent him to childcare, and they said, now we have to go all in, come together as a team, go all in. We want you to take the leadership role of CEO. And I'm like, whoa, calm down. Now I've got 2 to juggle under like 3. And you're telling me that, we're going to pivot, go all in, and I have to take the lead. And they said, yep, that's how it's going to be. We're really been waiting for you. We've missed this. And, that's where we pivoted the company. We went all in. We became the founding team. We pivoted into a large SaaS platform. We drew a vision. We made lots of mistakes. And, Resonate.cx was born in its current avatar.
What an incredible story. And your husband definitely has the happy wife, happy life principle that my husband has of just backing you and believing in you. And I love the way you've called it a sparkle. It's just like, absolutely, that's right. And they're big decisions. They're massive decisions that we make in our life, particularly when finances are in play. But when you just have something that you can just grow into and be stimulated and challenged, rather than being another resource that you're sitting there for the whole day thinking about, your kids in daycare. I can definitely relate to that experience. And well done you for taking on a CEO role while the kids were that young. I've been a CEO for a long time, and it certainly would have been a massive juggle back there with kids that age. So you are certainly
one of my mentors actually made a really, it hasn't been an easy journey being a young mum and growing a company and a large team, and taking on major competitors in the market. One of my I said, I wish this would have come at a different time. I was having a very whingy moment with her. She's a very successful business leader who also grew a large business with 3 kids. And she said something to me. She said, Mita, don't wait for the rain to stop. Learn to dance in the rain. So I was like, you can't find the perfect moment to, when these opportunities come, you've just got to seize them when they do. You're not going to be always single and young and without kids when one of these things happen in your life. So
Exactly. And those perfect moments, for those listening in, really rarely happen. You've got to seize those moments. You've just got to go, okay, this is pretty great. I'm just going to take it and see where it goes. And that's it. Even not that we want to think with the negative, the plan B in check, but most of us do have a plan B if it doesn't. But by taking on an opportunity that just is golden, why not just lean into it? And I tell you what, it's such a hilarious learning curve. I'll say hilarious because I've been through those journeys yourself of what you learn along the way. way, and most of our growth actually happens, as you said, that we learn to fail fast and fail forward, don't we? So what have you noticed about consumers and businesses that has changed in your time in business?
Yep. I've always been very passionate about business and the consumer, and that's why I love the space of customer experience. And I actually bumped into this space because I had traditionally studied business at a business school, and they teach you all these traditional things like marketing and finance and strategy. And I bumped into customer and experience, and I said, how come they left this whole thing out of business school, where leaders really need to understand what this is? This was sort of the conductor of the orchestra, if I would put it that way, bringing together ops and finance and marketing, ultimately to deliver why we're in business to customers, so that you get value from them and from the market. So I thought this was such an interesting play. It was the most strategic part of bringing just about everything together. And as a leader, what I've seen businesses change in the market, more and more leaders starting to understand that working businesses in silos, in traditional silos, is no longer going to work. You've got to have to bring what is very traditional silos of operations, online, offline marketing, and bring them together, because the customer's expectation is far more than what it was 10 years ago. And it's accelerating at a pace where businesses are finding it hard to keep up. No longer is it good enough to have a branch and then call yourself a bank. Customers are expecting Uber-like deliveries from a traditional banking business, or, my kids are expecting everything to be instant or easy, and their expectation of ease and instantness is so different from mine. And so business leaders are grappling with this new changing expectation of the customer. And then change, what we call disruption, or these fancy words, it's just this change of expectation of the consumer that businesses are grappling with. And those that actually, which is a huge opportunity, means the the cards have been dealt again on the board. And it's like, well, you either want to seize this opportunity, because the customers, if you can deliver for them, they're actually ready to change loyalties. They're ready to look at new and better solutions. There's never been a consumer that has been so open to change. And so that's an opportunity for business. Before it was like, I shop at this shop, that's where I'm going to shop, and I'm happy to do it. Whereas, young people these days, they're like, tell me what's different. I'm actually ready to listen to something new. I'll download an app if you tell me. Whereas traditionally, we're not that open to change. So the consumer is very open to change, which means it's a massive opportunity for business, because, if they do the right thing, and if we do the right thing, the market is open and has never been, it's like plasticine in a way. It's malleable. It's never been open to change in a way.
Yeah, I love the way you've described that, because that's exactly what I've seen even playing out in my own household. If I look at my parents, they would have gone, we belong to the Commonwealth Bank, we belong to NRMA, and this is our insurance company, and so forth. And it was pretty much, we're loyal to them, they're good to us. Why would we ever change? And it's almost like I don't even think about it. The bill just goes over and over. Whereas for my husband and I, it's now we're pretty traditional, but we will look for better deals. And now I watch my millennial, children, of which I've got 5, and they're pretty much every bill. Is this still the best phone plan for me? What's better? What meets my need? So I totally agree, and that's where we used to aspire to go, well, how do we compete with the big 4, for example? Whereas now we're actually finding that a lot of companies like yours, because you're savvy, because you're adapting to the market's future needs, if you like, you're able to meet them in a way that the big companies sometimes have got just too much, infrastructure, and it takes a while to turn around those ships. So what is the purpose? Tell us a little bit about Resonate.cx. What is the purpose of this business?
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess it's really, you sort of hit the nail on the head. How do you help large companies actually become more nimble, more customer centric, and less inward looking and more outward looking as you grow? And whether you be a big bank or a big accounting firm, or a big retailer, you sometimes you do things the way you've always done them. So Resonate is a company that allows large traditional businesses to become more current customer focused. How do you get customer empathy right up to the ivory towers? How do you get people who are running multi-billion-dollar businesses to get empathy to the customer? Because that customer that I just talked about is changing their mind and their preferences at light speed, is changing their expectation at light speed. And so Resonate is really a software platform and partner that allows large traditional businesses to become more customer centric in order to survive and thrive in the new economy. And that's what it's really about. These businesses have worked for centuries sometimes to build value, brand, and large employee bases, and deliver so much wealth to, the market and the economy. So it's in our interest also to not just talk about the disruptors, but also continue to hold value in some of what we built out, whether it be a Combank or whether it be an NRMA, by making them slightly more customer focused means that we're actually not losing the great value they created in our economy. So Resonate is a platform that really allows these large companies to become more customer focused and drive delight in new ways. Really, that's what it's about, driving better customer experiences.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And you'd think it'd be a no-brainer that we're in business to solve a problem for our customers, right? That's why they actually come to us. That's the whole point of business, to solve their problem in an easy, affordable way. And so it's an amazing situation that you have. That's right, incredibly long-standing businesses, but the needs of our customers are changing, as you said, incredibly rapidly, and also what they value is changing rapidly. And so and that's part of workplace culture. It's whether you're have got positions on the environment, on issues that are happening in the world, who you're aligned with. There's so many factors that affect a modern consumer, and I totally love what you're doing there. So what have been the biggest challenges that you have had to overcome in your career so far?
I think always your own personal growth. I always start there. The bottleneck of a business really sits at the top of it. That's why every bottleneck sits at the top. So it's really about having, the personal growth mindset to be able to grow, because your team depends on your own personal growth. Can you be a better leader? Can you be a better champion? Because there are so many people that are committed to the cause and are in your tribe and are counting on you to be a better version of yourself every 6 months. And so that's a huge responsibility for any leader, including myself. So those are challenges that you do. You have, personal biases, you have personal frameworks that you work in, and you go, no, actually, I've got to challenge myself. I've got to think outside the box. And the faster I can grow is how fast the business grows. Ultimately, that's the bottom line. And that's, in a way, quite a responsibility. So that's the case. Obviously, you do get through a lot of imposter syndrome. Sometimes you sit on them. Being a woman, I'm actually a woman of color that is sort of 5 foot something, so you've got that triple. You have to, in my case, make your own path in a way, because there's not many that have walked that path before. I'm a first gen, second gen migrant. My parents came here to Australia sort of 40 years ago. And there's not many stories out there like that. But I always believe that every sort of disadvantage that you have can be flipped over to be your advantage as well. Mm-hmm. So you have many unique perspectives to even understand your customer, to understand your employees, to see value where no one else saw it. So all of that mishmash, those dots that are there in that beautiful tapestry, is really a massive advantage. And to be able to flip that and go, actually, I have insight that maybe someone else doesn't have, because I've walked a very different path to someone else.
Yeah. Exactly. And as a multicultural society here in Australia, that's exactly it. Your family background and their journey actually represents, a huge part of the market, of
Yep,
people from different
absolutely.
countries who have taken that journey. I love the way you referenced also being a female and a woman of color too, and definitely in tech. So you've got, I was emceeing an event this week for industries in tech, and I think they said like 30% of the room were female. That's only 30%, not 50%. So you certainly are a pioneer still in this space of female in leadership, women of color in leadership, women in tech leadership. So I really salute you in breaking those barriers that are visible and invisible in many, many areas. So how do you then continue to learn by your mistakes? There'll be issues that you'll call mistakes. We'll call them learning opportunities, and which they sort of feel like after the fact. At the time, you're like, oh my gosh, how have you taken some key learnings of things that you just didn't know or you learned from, and actually went, now I'm stronger because of?
Yeah, that's a very big question. I think you do it every day. You build the mindset. Every time I used to feel bad when I used to fail. Now I sort of get excited because I'm like, and it's been a journey to get to that point. I know a lot of leaders say, fail forward. It's a journey. You're
Yes.
not designed when you're young to fail that easily and feel proud about it. Our whole education system is not designed around that. You might come from a cultural background that doesn't celebrate failure in any way. So it's really when you fail and then you end up getting up and doing better, you sort of create this pattern in your mind where you go, actually, I'm excited about this failure because now I have a competitive advantage over someone that hasn't
Yes.
done that failure. So now every failure is sort of celebrated in my own head. And it's a very short moment of feeling sad and then a very long moment of feeling happy and excited about, actually, now I have insight that no one else has, that hasn't failed, and now I can go faster and learn from this and bounce off it. So you build a great muscle of bouncing off your failure and gaining ground very fast, whether it be going into a new market, whether it be hiring the right person, whether it be making a business deal. All of that is really around building that bouncing muscle to go, actually, this failure is a bouncing board to the next leap. And you've got to just keep playing the game, and that it's going to actually play out well. So there's been many iterations of that. And now the reflex has changed in the mind to go, actually, this is just a moment and this is going to give me that bounce that I needed. So
you had perfectly articulated the fail fast and fail forward principle. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners. Now you're now taking on big American unicorns. What is that involving? And is that exciting and scary all at the same time? How are you feeling about that?
It's absolutely exciting and scary at the same time. I always give an analogy. I played a lot of sport and I come from a family that played a lot of sport. My father used to represent his nation so I find that analogy good. When you watch a Roger Federer on center court playing and you want to be that tennis champion that wants to play on center court, you've got one of two options. One, that you go, I wish Roger Federer wasn't there and I could get to center court, and that's just not an option. So you watch that, you admire it, you say, yes, that's inspirational that people have built companies in this market. There is a customer need and customers are looking for this type of category, and it solves some real big business problem. And then as you play that, you don't copy Roger Federer. What you do is you play your own game really well. What you learn from them is discipline and things like that, but you don't try to copy everything that Roger does. So you really you've got your sights on center court, you play your own strengths and you practice and you bring discipline into what you're doing. And then you let match day come. And sometimes when match day comes and, you do meet Roger in round 1 and 2, you play your game and you get better at it. And sometimes you beat him, whether it be a unicorn or taking on a competitor. And the matches you don't, when you go, that was a privilege to take them on, because now I've learned when I do meet him again, what I need to do better. And it's an iterative, disciplined process of wanting to be at center court with your team and playing that game really well, your best game. So I see this as anyone who wants to be the greatest and the best, you really, it's both looking outward and inward and just being very disciplined about what you do.
Beautiful. Exactly it. And you want that for people. I think it's very tempting. A lot of people want to copy what's working, right? And then just go, okay, if I can copy it and undercut it, then obviously I would be successful. But you'll have limited success, because if we look on that level of the true artists, for example, you want them because they're unique, they're original, they've got their own sass, their own style, and it's got to come from within, and it's got to meet a specific need of the market. And just copying someone else and being a cover item, if you like, definitely won't take you very far. So I think it's that mindset that you've got that is to, learn the best tips and tricks from the best of the best, and then make it your own, and then, and then develop things that other people would want to mimic off you. You're always going to be a leader. Now, you've explained very clearly how you've turned sort of disadvantages into advantages. I call them turning wounds into superpowers. I love all of that language. You've also, I hear you've termed the word businesses like snakes and ladders. What does that mean to you?
I work with a lot of young people in my team, and there's been a lot of rhetoric around tech startups and this, wild ride up, and it's really it's not a linear type of game board in any way. So I always think that, if you've ever played snakes and ladders as a kid, you roll the dice and you keep yourself on the board. And on the same board, you might hit a snake, but on the same board, when bad luck hits you, good luck can also hit you. So the people that keep playing the game and get up every day and roll the dice and come on in, sometimes, I hear young people in my team or my friend circle go, oh, I've just hit so much bad luck. And I say, it's the board of snakes and ladders. Where you found the snake, you will find the ladder right next to it. So you must stay on that board. Just as you had this massive disadvantage at you and you had to maybe go back in your career, or you might have to go back a position in your life, you're going to hit a moment where unfairly someone promotes you doubly, and that same fairness and unfairness live on that same board, but you've got to be playing. Otherwise, you're not going to hit the fairness and unfairness in that same proportion. So I've had moments in my life where I felt hard done by, and I've recognized moments in my life where really good luck has come my way, and I've had to pinch myself going, oh my goodness, I've just elevated 3 things, or, we won this big, that board has that ladder and that snake. And I've said, yeah, this is a ladder moment. I recognize that now. So when a snake hits and, I have to go backwards a little bit, I go, just keep playing. There's a ladder around the corner, an unfair advantage that's going to come because we have been playing and we've been disciplined. So that's really why I call, that analogy really works. It keeps you going in those moments where you feel like that's so unfair. You've had to go back in some way, or you've lost something in some way.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that visual. It's just so clear to me, because often when sometimes you have those steps backwards, or you fall down, a little snake, and sometimes you have to wear it yourself. You weren't the best on the day, or you slacked off, or you weren't as dedicated to someone else, and it hurts, but it depends on how long you're going to sit there licking your wounds at the bottom, and then, that's right. And that's what leaders do, successful people do. They actually just get back in the game and just become more focused, more tenacious. And that's right. And when they have that attitude more, they do certainly come across those ladders that give them a speed trip up to the top. And fantastic. What have you learned about people? I've always said, the people are the business. People are the ones who are absolutely all combined are the brand, are the soul of every company, whatever it is. What have you learned about different people in different organizations and the culture that you've created in your business?
Yeah, that's a really the biggest learning has been about people, I think, and I'm still learning. But we talked about how the market has changed around consumers, wanting more and being open to new ideas. The market has also changed in the employee space. Now employees are wanting to be connected more to the customer, to be in a company that is purposeful. The millennials want purpose. They want to be part of a company that delivers great customer experience. They don't just want a salary anymore. So the need for customer experience is so great, because when you're part of a company that is delivering value to a customer, you feel purposeful. You feel like, actually, I'm changing the planet and I'm helping customers, do different things. So I think that's a generic, broad macro trend, that employees want to be part of a purposeful company that actually delivers for the customers, not just delivers profit, delivers for the planet, delivers for consumers, delivers for everyone, and society in general. So that greater purpose, Maslow's hierarchy, you may call it, everyone's gone up a step in a way. And what have I learned about people? I think they're beautiful. There's so many, everyone's got such strengths. And as a leader, you've got to really focus in on your team's strengths and put them in the right position to play to that strength. You can't make people what you want them to be. They are who they are, and you can really nurture them. And you can then, what the control that you have in the situation is putting them in a seat that allows them to fly. You can't suddenly want a person to be outgoing, or someone to be someone who is naturally introverted, and you suddenly want them to be extroverted because that's what you wanted. When you do get someone in your team, you've got to say, what gifts have I got with them? They might be great at execution, but not great at strategy. They might be great at strategy, but not great at execution. You have to go, all right, now this person is really suitable for this role. And I might have hired them for X, but I'm going to actually complement them with Y. So it's really around really honing in on, how can I make this person win? And have I tried to actually place them in the right way with the right team structure? And so that's what I've really learned. It's come through learning and iteration. I can't say I was born with that skill, or I was pretty naive in the early days and very, less open to different ideas. And that's come because I've really been interested in why. And also the second thing is really understand a person's context and their backstory. They're not just like an employee that you hired to do a role. They have a lovely backstory. Parts of that backstory, when you learn it, you actually you have that strength. Their strengths are built from their backstory. So really understand the context that person is operating in, so you can be a better leader for them. You can't just look at them as what you see today. There is some part of where they came from and how their family operates. And, you've got to be interested in that person as a whole, not just that employee sitting in that seat doing something for you. And so it is effort, but it pays a lot of dividend in the end, I think.
Yes, exactly, because they bring all of that to the work every single day. They're there at the office thinking about their kids in childminding, or aged parents, or sicknesses, or financial worries, building houses, all that sort of thing is going around. That's right. I think it's putting the human in human resources, right, instead of focusing on resources. I absolutely love that, and that's why you're a stellar leader. And so let's finish the conversation then. What are you looking forward to in the next few years? We're always growing into and evolving into the person, the woman that we're wanting to be. What are you excited about in the next few years?
I'm excited about, what Resonate is going to do, the team, and just the excitement building up in the company, the skill, our understanding of the customer's need and the market. I'm really excited about bringing that vision to life. I'm also excited about being able to write our own leadership stories within the company. Leadership doesn't have to be done from someone else's playbook. This is how a leader is. This is how Elon Musk is. This is how best Jeff Bezos is. So many people are pioneering what leadership can be, and we can't be that afraid of innovating what different types of success and different types of speed and ways of leading. And also, I guess, what success looks like as well as a leader. Is it all about profit and outcomes, or is it about great people? All of that. So I'm just learning as we go, and being very open to letting Resonate write its own story and being part of that story, being a part of that story. And there's so many great leaders emerging from the company, and I'm very excited about that as well. Actually, I'm learning a lot from the different leaders within the company, and I'm very excited about that.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness, I can feel the excitement. I'm just like, woohoo. So what do you say to those, particularly young women, thinking, should I go into tech? Is this a future that I will feel that I have a great opportunities in the future workforce? What would you say to them listening in today?
Yeah, absolutely. Give it a go. Have people around you that back you or believe in you, or are going to be the types of people that don't even let you run away from a great opportunity, or don't let your fears play out. They go, no, I think you should give it a go. I think you should do this. So I think take the first step, and then have a sort of there's nothing to lose attitude. We're living in one of the world's best countries. We have such an opportunity, and if you think about it, there's just absolutely nothing to lose. Even though we do get worked up about the smallest of things, we're just living in a country of absolute opportunity. So have that there's nothing to lose attitude when you're taking those steps.
Brilliant. And I strongly encourage you to do that, ladies. We're all about empowering our women to just level up their future success. And this is a great way to do that by not being intimidated by areas that have traditionally been barriers, to really put yourself out there. If you're wanting to contact Mita, I encourage you to go to Resonate.cx, her website. Check it out, learn more about it. You'll find contact details there and on my podcast platform on how you can actually get in touch with her. I'm sure she'd be very happy to answer any questions that you have and encourage you along your way. Thank you so much for being on my show today. It's been a fantastic conversation. You're a super inspiring woman, and I wish you all the best in your future success.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks so much for having me and listening to my story.